Matthew 10:16 says, "Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be wise as serpents and harmless as doves." This is our modus operandi in this world. I was basically going to do a video on this parable. I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves, because I was reading different texts the other day and it appeared in there. So this is the text. Unfortunately, it's slightly out of focus on this camera because it's not a great quality camera, but the text it's a small text. It's probably like a 0.8 size font. But in 17, it says, "What fellowship has the wolf with the lamb? So the sinner with the godly." And I think that Jesus is using that parable from this chapter of Sirach. Often the case is with the New Testament. It uses the language of previous texts to, in a succinct way, kind of deploy extra meanings into what is being said. Basically, this chapter in Sirach, it's referring us to this chapter in Sirach, I think. Be wise as serpents and harmless as doves, because we're counted as nothing in this world, aren't we? It's this chapter of Sirach is basically about kind of like what James is saying in his epistle about having respect of persons, how the world respects the wealthy. It's like the following verse says, "What agreement is there between the hyena and the dog? And what peace between the rich and the poor? As the wild ass, that's a donkey, is the lion's prey in the wilderness, so the rich eat up the poor." The rich eat up the poor. God's chosen the poor of this world, rich in faith, as it says. As the proud hate humility, so does the rich abhor the poor. As the proud hate humility, so does the rich abhor the poor. A rich man beginning to fall is held up of his friends, but a poor man, being down, is thrust also away by his friends. So people are respecting wealth, not that man's character. When a rich man is fallen, he has many helpers. He speaks things not to be spoken, and yet men justify him. The poor man slipped, and yet they rebuked him too. He spoke wisely and could have no place. When a rich man speaks, every man holds his tongue, and look what he says. They extol it to the clouds, but if the poor man speaks, they say, "What fellow is this?" And if he stumbles, they will help to overthrow him. Riches are good to him that has no sin, and poverty is evil in the mouth of the ungodly. The heart of a man changes his countenance, that is his face, whether it's for good or evil, and a merry heart makes a cheerful countenance. A cheerful countenance is a token of a heart that is in prosperity, and the finding out of parables is a wearisome labour of the mind. The finding out of parables is a wearisome labour of the mind. That's my addiction these days. It's a good addiction, like Stephanus, it was said, he's addicted himself to the gospel. So if we find out what the parables mean, it gives us a deeper understanding of what's being said. There's so many parables that are really, I don't see them being talked about, I don't see them being explained. So this is the explanation of this simple lambs and wolves parable.